say that, you know, maybe us, when we feel like, hey, we're down, we're in our sin, there's nothing more that we could do. God can. And it was this whole message of redemption from the country in Cambodia and to these little girls who had everything taken away. It was so prevalent when I was talking to some of these people, and it was really encouraging just to see how much God is doing when people kind of just didn't give it a second thought. We can get to our next slide here. Thailand was getting kind of a reputation, like kind of like one of the things that I had a problem, difficulty with. Being Thai, I didn't like the idea, and we had this idea of saving face. Right? However, you know, being quiet about it and trying to ignore it, it wouldn't really help anything, especially since it's happening anyway. So the word's getting out. And these were in the airports as soon as we entered Bangkok, when we went into the other airports in Thailand. Everybody who comes into the country sees this. Everybody who's in the country sees human trafficking is illegal. It is destroying the country. And so there's hotlines, there's things being done. Right? And just seeing God at work, bringing people out of that sin is just, it's so incredible. I'm really happy to be able to see God's hand at work. This is about that.
Give it up for Darwin.
So our last leg of the trip was in Bangkok, Thailand, which is the capital of Thailand. And at this point of the trip, we spent one night in Bangkok, and the last few days was one night in the city, and then fly to the next city, and then one night, and then fly to the next city. So I think everyone is pretty exhausted by the time we were in Bangkok. And so our last day, we got to visit another project house. And since it was a Sunday, it was very informal. So the girls didn't have English class. And when we got there, we just ordered pizza, and we just all sat around and ate in, I guess it was their living room. And one thing from that visit that stood out to me was everyone was, I don't know if it was because we were tired, and of course there's a language barrier, but we're all sitting around trying to break the ice with the rescue girls, and it was kind of awkward for a little bit. Everyone was sitting around, and Jade could translate, but
the girls were very, they had just been rescued the week before.
Some of them were
and they were
brand new rescues.
Very shy. So we tried our best. Of course,
yeah, we were just sitting around.
With a smile on their face.
The one thing that definitely broke the ice was when one of the girls brought a guitar out. Josie started playing guitar, and then first she wanted to play Taylor Swift, but Josie's anti-Taylor Swift, so we started singing praise songs. So we sang Here I Am to Worship, and then we also sang How Great Is Our God. And then just in that moment, that was what kind of united everyone together, because everyone was singing, and it went from like awkward to everyone all together and being united as one. And not only did, singing and worshiping to God unite us, it also kind of brought the whole trip in perspective for me. It showed me that, seeing the girls smiling and singing their hearts out, it showed me that, with Destiny Rescue showing God's love to these girls, it gave them so much hope for a better future. And because throughout the trip, we had lunch and dinners with different volunteers in every aspect of the organization. And hearing all their stories, all of them said they were called there by God. They had a strong calling to leave their home and make all this sacrifice to go there and work for Destiny Rescue. So at that moment, I kind of was, at a moment I was like sitting there and looking down, trying to hold back tears, but I mean, it was tears of joy, because knowing that Destiny Rescue is doing so much for these girls, giving them so much hope for a brighter future. So after that, we went to Red Light District, but oh, this is one of our tuk-tuk drivers.
Christian also, he's got a son and he's got a daughter on the way. Very, very happy guy. Like, God bless him, and he knows it. He's super happy.
So on our last night of the whole trip, our team leader Jalora took us to I guess one of the red light districts in Bangkok, and it was an interesting experience. It was kind of like a 3-story strip mall plaza, and we had specific instructions just to go in there, walk each floor, not really stop, and then walk back out and then meet with everyone by the van. So we all kind of went in smaller groups, so we didn't look like a tour. But I remember seeing at one of the bars, there was one of the girls sitting there with a Westerner, and then an elderly lady, which is the mama-san. And the mama-san kind of is a mother figure to the girls who work at the bars. And then you could see them, I guess they were, what Jalora kind of explained was that they were kind of bartering so that the Westerner guy would take the girl back. I mean, that kind of, I guess they took us there just to show us a peek of what the girls that we worked with had to go through. And it was kind of hard imagining the smiling faces that we see in that situation. And afterwards, we went back to the hotel and then we kind of debriefed and digested what we saw and talked it over.
Okay, so that's my team. So I mean, there's 8 of us, we're there in 2 weeks, and you've heard different stories from each one of us. And we're here trying to kind of paint this really hard picture to make you understand and make you passionate for something you don't know or you haven't experienced. So, I mean, we're trying our best. So, I mean, to summarize everything, I think for me, I think a lot of us, the main thing was we keep asking the question, why? And so it's like, why did this happen? Why did this genocide happen? Why would this person do this? Or why did this happen? Like, why? Like, why is all these things happening? And so I'm going to give you guys 2 main things that I got out of the trip. First one was, you have to understand these countries, the reason these things happen is it's something in their culture. So while we were going through all these places, we're trying to understand why this is happening. I'm going to share with you 2 quotes that they shared with us. In Cambodia, they said that men are like gold. If you drop them on the ground, you can just pick them up, wipe it off, and it's still gold. But women are like cloth. You drop them on the ground, you pick them up, and they're forever dirty. And so you can understand with these girls, when they go through something like this, it's not just like our culture here where we see someone on TV is like, oh yeah, that person did this, and then 2 weeks later, we don't even remember their name, we don't remember their face. In this country, they remember it forever. We were told stories of some girls that would even, this girl that moved from one village to another, and they still knew her, they still knew what she did. And so you have to understand it's not just something you can just erase your past and start a new life. It's there. So it's really hard for these girls. So you have to understand these girls are really brave. Another quote that they also told us was, men men are like the ocean, right? Or, yeah. It takes a lot of rivers to fill it up. So what that means is that a man has a lot of desires. One woman is not enough. One woman is not enough. It takes a lot of women to complete that desire. And so for them, if you married someone, you can't be mad, or it's already accepted to have that your husband will go out and do whatever he wants. So you can't be mad at that. They already know that happens. So that's why this is happening. So one of the main things Callie and I were talking about our last briefing in Thailand is that what we can do ourselves, I mean, it's such a big thing to grasp, but we were saying a good relationship, we need to foster good relationships. So with the question why, like why is this happening? Why would a mom sell her kid for her virginity and that's it, and the girl will come, and you have to see like it's okay, like everything is okay, you can't get mad at your mom, like you did it for your family. So we were talking about it, and a lot of, while I was talking with Jalora, I asked like, what people go to these places? Like it doesn't make sense. Like why don't you just get a girlfriend? It doesn't make sense. And they're saying a lot of them are married, married men. And so I was like, well, it doesn't make sense. Like don't they have children? Like don't they have daughters? Like can't they put the two together? And so it made me realize like a lot of us, like what we can do is our relationship with each other, with our family, with our husbands, or with our wives. It's very important because kids see that. So in Cambodia, they were saying these girls have post-traumatic stress, and it's because it's in the family, and so what their parents went through, it's kind of put into them, and so they have the stress, and then they're very defensive with everything. And so I feel like for us, what we can do right now is foster a good relationship, whether it's with your wife or husband or with your friends, because these are what people are seeing. And so if we're trying to change something, we have to change the generation. So we have to, start on our own, in our own lives. The next one was when everyone was talking about Cambodia and these volunteers where they're not paid for anything, what they're doing, they leave their jobs and they just go there and do these things. It's funny because throughout our lives, we probably would meet a missionary, and in the back of our minds, we have this thing, we're like, oh my gosh, that person is crazy. Like, why would that person go over there and, leave everything? And or this person, why would they spend all this money to go somewhere? And when we were in that service and we saw the volunteers, particularly this man that was talking, this was Laura. Dante, the man, the old man that was talking to us, that was there for a long time for a cause too. They were so happy, like they were just there, and I felt like, man, like these volunteers probably think the same way with us. Like we're the crazy ones staying in our little homes, in our comfort zone, like not seeing what God is doing out there, not doing what God wants us to do. Because I felt like I met like the most happiest people in one place there, and they had nothing. Like literally, like their clothes are just, you just know like they didn't care about anything, but they were so happy. And so it made me realize they probably think we're the crazy ones, that we're in our own lives. We have all these cars, you have to work every day to just pay the bills and everything, and they're there enjoying everyone's company, enjoying the girls, enjoying what God is doing in that country. So just to kind of summarize and what to take away from this trip is just, it's really hard for us to explain our experience to you unless you do it yourself. I mean, God can, give you passion about something, but I think it's very important to go and try it yourself too, because it's different when you're out there and, God really lets you see what He wants you to see or understand what He wants you to understand. And so that was really big in my heart, because I feel like all this time I'm just like, people are crazy, to do all these things. And in the end, I was like, well, I'm crazy because I'm not doing what they're doing. So I just challenge everyone to just, I don't know, maybe once, like if you just think about it, maybe God is calling you to do something, even if it's, something here locally. I mean, there's a lot of ways we can help, so. Kelly.
And now I can share some of those ways with you. You can help. Eric, can you do the next slide? Like Jen was saying, yeah, it starts with us. When we had that conversation and she was sharing that with me, I was like, yeah, that's exactly, like, it was crazy. Like, I was thinking the same thing. Like, the reason why this stuff happens is selfishness in people's hearts. And, you know, I was looking at those guys and, like, you know, in hotels that we stayed in, you can just kind of tell the people that were there for that. And it's like, how far am I away from that? You know, like, how far am I away from that kind of selfishness or that kind of sin? And we're all capable. And so that's, I think, another thing to remember is, you know, the world is full of broken people, and it's Christ that changes our hearts and changes our relationships, and it has to start with us here at home. So a couple ways we can help. Eric, if you can go to the next slide. Through Destiny Rescue specifically is having a jewelry party. These are some really small, very tangible ways that we can at least start getting involved. And I know that when we're faithful with these little things, that God can be faithful with, will be faithful with big, big things. So if going on a trip scares you and terrifies you right now, maybe start with something small, and then maybe He'll change your heart a little bit so it won't be so scary. When we were in Chiang Rai, we got to visit where these girls make jewelry, and they make beautiful jewelry, and we actually got to make jewelry with them, and we were really awful at it. These girls were like showing us how to make it. Well, I was really awful at it, but you guys were good. But a lot of them will do it just for like kind of like craft therapy time, but a few of them go on, and then that becomes their job, their career is making jewelry. And so Destiny Rescue sells jewelry that these girls have made, and it comes with a cool little tag on it that says like how it was made and what Destiny Rescue is all about. And so that's one way you could do it. If you're interested in hosting, there's information on their website, or you can talk to any of us and we can direct you to that. The next way you guys can help is, it takes about $1,000 to rescue a girl. And when I was young, I was like, man, $1,000, that seems like a lot. And now I'm like, oh, that's like less than my rent. It's $1,000 a month. But it takes $1,000 to rescue a girl. So I don't know, I mean, that would be kind of a cool family goal or a cool church goal, is to just have a jar and be like, okay, we're going to try to rescue one girl this year or something like that. And, you know, raising that money. The Chinese Baptist Church did something similar called Raise 100 to Free 100. And they wanted to raise $100,000 to free 100 children. And so they did it. It took them 10 years, but they did it, which was really cool. And so if they can do it, we can do it, right? Right, Pastor? Yeah. Yeah. I was waiting for that. And then the third way is to adopt a home. Destiny Rescue used to do individual sponsorships for children, but they realized the girls, you know, come in and they go over like between 6 months to 2 years. And so what they've started to do is you can adopt one of the individual homes that we talked about. We talked about the Restore Home in Cambodia, the Promise Home in Thailand, the Justice Home in Cambodia. They also have homes in Laos and the Philippines. So if that's where your heart is, and that's something, it's $30 a month, and that money goes towards their food, their programs to help them and enrich their lives. And so those are just some tangible ways we can help. There's so much more. We have so many more stories, and we could sit up here for like 12 hours and tell you guys all of them, but I'm not going to put you through that. Our legs are getting tired, but please come talk with any of us. Just, I don't know, take somebody out to lunch, talk to them about their trip, or go sit with them today, because we have so many more stories we'd love to tell you if you're interested. If not, don't worry about it. But yeah, thank you so much, Pastor Victor, for letting us come and share with you guys. Thank you all for supporting us.